Hi, everybody. We're back today with another episode of Howie's Hometown Heroes, where we feature business owners, entrepreneurs, and community members who are doing extraordinary, amazing things right there in their own community. Today, we're in Miami, Florida. Must be pretty nice there, I guess, Solace in Miami today. What's going on there?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful skies, nice
Yeah.
weather. It's actually kind of chilly when I walked out the door this morning, which
Oh,
was weird because yesterday it
chill.
was sweating profusely outside. So
Oh, chili for you is like perfect for me, probably. Exactly,
probably
in New
yes.
York. Well, anyway, let me tell you about Chanell Solace in Miami. She is a serial entrepreneur, not just breakfast cereal, but like one after another. And she's got 5 businesses. A lot of people have trouble running one at a time, and 5 kids. Some people have trouble with one at a time also, but somehow she manages all that stuff. And some of the other crazy things she does. I mean, she looks like a perfect mom, right? Wonderful looking person, very great personality. Skateboarder, snowboarder, used to go surfing until sharks popped up, all kinds of crazy things. What a life she's had. And we're going to find out some of those kind of things, really dig into her story. Fascinating, fascinating kind of story. So Chanell, thanks for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. So let's kind of dig right in. Now, the first thing I heard about you a couple of weeks ago, whenever we first started talking, was you started out as a teenager and homeless. So that sounds like talk about the most difficult thing you could probably go through. But tell us a little bit about that story and how that all came about. And
Short version. When I was 16, I ran away from home. I chose to run away from home. I wasn't kicked out. My family was very abusive, verbally and physically. So one night, I actually snuck out and I got caught, and I was so afraid to go home, that I just never went home. Uh, I and then Yeah, long story. I was couch surfing. When I turned 18, I finally there was a ticket out of town, so I took the ticket out of town. Worked at a Jackson Hole at a resort up there in Yellowstone, Wyoming, and yeah, just kind of
oh,
lived in survival mode from
yeah,
couch to couch. I can't say I didn't have a good time doing all that stuff. I mean, I have some really amazing stories and some troublesome stories, and yeah, so I was just adulting
fast,
for a long time. Yeah.
fast, fast. I mean, it's a tough way to go for anybody, really. But starting out your life, learning to be an adult with all kinds of baggage, from behind, and stuff that you had to go through and overcome that. So that's really amazing. I mean, a lot of people would not have survived that sort of environment. So
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today to help people
yeah,
to overcome the things that I went through
went
and had
through
to, deal on my own and
and
all that good
and
stuff.
that's
So,
yeah, and that's really terrific. So that's what we want to I want to dig into that and how you overcame some of those things. And you were in Hawaii. Tell us about some of the stories or places you've been before you actually got into your entrepreneur kind of journey.
oh, I've been all over, all over the place, United States anyway. Um, from my little town of Craig, Colorado, where there was about maybe 1,000 to 3,000 people during that time. Um, I went from there to Jackson Hole to Portland, Oregon, and just kind of bounced around, couch surfed, travel around hiking, and um, learning just what was out there in the world, learning about herbs and nature. And I became an activist at one point, where I strapped myself to a tree, which is
Oh,
crazy
really?
times. um, yeah, and then I ended up in Hawaii, met some people, and we got a ticket, stayed in the San Francisco airport for 4 days on the floor. That was before 9/11. So you were able to stay in the airport. Security wasn't what it is today. So ended up in Hawaii, and it was amazing. I'd never been anywhere in a tropical. It was
Oh,
just
yeah, sure.
amazing. It was like picture perfect. It was just beautiful, and Spent some time there and then hopped from few of the islands, traveled around with my friend that I had at the time and ended up um, probably about after a year, just ended up in a situation that was just, it was time to leave that island. And it's not like you can just, hitchhike to the next state over or something. You're on an island. So I walked in to Waikoloa Beach Grill over on the Kona side of the Big Island and little skimpy dress on, no shoes, had dreadlocks. But I was determined to get the heck off that island. Walked in and the manager at the restaurant said, I can't hire you. I don't even think they were hiring anyway. But he said, I can't hire you because your hair. So I tried to pull back as tight as I could, like my eyes were like slanted. He said, no, people are just going to notice that hair. And that time it was like no dreadlocks, no tattoos, no piercings.
Oh,
Those were just the no back then. Uh, so I said, okay. And I left. I went to the showers out at the beach, shaved my head, and went back and asked him if I could have that job. And he just looked at me and he could not give me something. So he bought me a pair of shoes, some socks, and gave me a uniform. And I worked there for maybe about a month on tips. I was third table because they didn't have a room for me, but he made it work. Got enough money to get off the island and then went back to Portland, Oregon. So
there you go. All right. So there's some determination for sure. I mean, when you have a goal or a destination that you want to accomplish, as crazy as it is, or as troubled as you might have been in a oddball situation, a difficult situation, that you just figured it out and made it work for you.
oh yeah, yeah. I wish I knew who that man was today. Like I can't remember his
Ah,
name, nothing, because he probably saved my life. Like if
I'm
I had
just,
stayed
yeah,
there, I probably wouldn't be here today.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So how did it feel when you accomplished it? You were on the plane going to Portland. So now you felt, I'm going to say, did you feel good leaving Hawaii, or it
Yeah, it was kind of
was
like
time to
when
go?
when you got there, the island like embraced you, and then when it was time to go, the island was like, okay, you need to leave now.
You need to
You're
leave. Oh, nice.
That's how I felt anyway. So
That's
I,
it.
I
All
kind
right.
of felt like relief. But then when I got to Portland, I didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah,
So I was staying in a hotel with a little bit of money that I had made and looking for a place. And yeah, that's a whole nother story.
well, we can dig into that, for a long time, right? Of all the different places you've lived and things like that. But
Yeah.
but let's move fast forward in kind of the entrepreneur area. How did you get to from that? Well, maybe not Portland necessarily, but from where to Miami? Is that where you started your businesses, or how did that
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, I started my businesses in Miami. When I moved here, actually once I got myself together over there in Portland, I had a lot of people help me over there get
Okay,
my
good.
life together. Um, I got offered a job from a vendor that I was using at the time to move down here in Florida and run their one of their departments. Um, but when I got here, it's funny, they didn't even have the department.
So
So I
you
was
are the
just stuck in
department.
this job. Yeah, I was just stuck in this job that was, I mean, it was good experience and I met my husband there. He was actually the
Okay.
IT guy of that company. So
So there you go.
uh,
That worked out. So that
yeah, yeah, it was great. It, that saying, you are the company that you keep, I think is that saying.
Hmm.
That's so true because the people I was hanging out with and were around before I moved to Florida were the complete opposite. And when I met my husband, like this guy, he smelled good. He was successful. He had his own business, and it was very interesting. And we became friends, and I just learned about the whole entrepreneurship and
Ah.
stuff from him. So that's how I kind of got into the business world. And I self-taught myself everything. Like I started in QuickBooks. I started running the office a little bit. So I just self-taught myself everything. And
Good.
now I have 5 businesses.
And now you got 5 businesses. Right, right.
Yeah.
So which was the first one? Or how did you, I guess my question really is, running 5 at one time to me is somewhat overwhelming. But, for a lot of people I know that have multiple businesses and manage just fine. Um, what was the first one? What was that epiphany moment that said, okay, I'm going to do this? What was that?
Well, I joined the company with my husband because he already owned his company. So I just kind of joined him.
Okay.
And then we had kids and bought the house, and life kind of just happened. it wasn't until COVID that I actually um kind of, I guess you'd say, I just hit rock bottom. So I kind of was reanalyzing my life, seeing like what I was doing for the last 15 years, Um, and I said, you know what, I want to do, it's time for me to do something for me. So I opened up
Oh,
my soap business, my organic soap
right,
business.
right,
And that was
right.
the first, my very own business. I was like, how hard can soap be? My husband was using Dr. Bronner's. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
man,
yeah. I know
I
that.
used to use that when I was homeless because it was safe to put in the rivers and the
Yeah,
water, and you could
sure.
do dishes, you could do everything with it.
Yeah, yeah,
Gargle with it even.
yeah.
But I was like, how hard could soap be? And it kind of tied into like all this stuff. I love herbs. I love to work with herbs. I just love gardening and essential oils, and I just love all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so I thought, well, how hard can that be? So I was like, I looked up some recipes. And it was like baking a cake. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what the recipes look like. It was like baking a cake. So I grabbed some recipes from Barnes and Noble and I practiced in the kitchen. And I was like, oh, this is easy. So I started researching like what oils went with some oils and what oils were not harmful to nature, like a lot of palm oil, for example,
Uh-huh.
hurts the orangutan's habitat. So
Oh,
I vet all my ingredients. I researched what would work with what because not all oils work together. Um, and I had no idea how much like scientific chemistry, math, and all that
yeah.
stuff went into
Yeah,
soap making. I mean, I
yeah.
had like $30,000. I had many breakdowns in the kitchen because my soap would not harden. I was just had soup. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I did the cacheo. That's what my soap business is called. And then from there, I opened up like two companies for my kids. I have an investment company now. So that main company, which is information consultants, we do process automation for companies. That's kind of like our golden goose. And from the goose, we're able to open all these other,
Spin off of some of the other ones and
yeah,
stuff too.
yeah.
So that was yeah, that was it. It sounds like an interesting business, the document management sort of company. So that was the two of you kind of put that together. You
Yeah,
and your husband put that together.
yeah, he's a programmer, so he was already doing that before me,
Okay.
and that's how I met him in that company. He did a database for that company,
Yep.
and then he started doing process automations and things like that. So I just hopped on board with him
Okay.
and took the ride.
There you go. There you go. Well, a lot of spouses or a lot spouses do get in businesses together and then everything falls apart after that. I mean, how do you and your husband kind of manage to keep that stuff together?
I laugh because it wasn't easy at first. It really wasn't. And then as life goes on and the bills and the kids and you're working in the business together, like your whole life is just each other all the time,
Yeah.
24/7 a day.
Yeah.
Um, so it's been a lot of learning. I gotta say, he and I could probably write a book on how to work with your spouse.
And maybe you
'Cause,
should. Maybe.
yeah, there were times where yeah, we didn't know if we were gonna make it through it or not,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, here we are today.
And here you are saying, so that's all, that's awesome. So yeah, so he had the document business. You wanted to start the soap business on your
Hmm.
own.
Hmm.
Great. Okay. Let's do something else. Like
Well,
what was the
well,
next thing? How does all that come about?
well, the next thing was we noticed a lot of our customers during COVID didn't have their documents scanned. And the document management company, the process automation, that's what we do. They weren't
Yeah.
scanning in their paper. So, oh, you know what? Let's do another service. Let's scan these documents for our customers. And let's open a division called Scan It Forward and hire young adults on the spectrum. The repetitive work. I mean, they're great at it. They like the repetitive
Oh,
work, and it's an
interesting.
introduction into IT, which I still work with a lot of nonprofits, and their IT is just kind of outdated. And the roles that some of the young adults were being stuck in were like customer service and like stocking shelves or just kind of put in the corner of an office to do
Yeah.
whatever. And we wanted to introduce them to more than just customer service or whatnot. So the repetitiveness of scanning and indexing, and they just love it and they were great at it. So
Oh,
that's what we do with the Scan It Forward.
oh, that's awesome. And that feeds into the document management company thing too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And people have,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you saw that need, I guess I'm asking about the kids on the spectrum. Um, what made you think of that in the first place?
Well, my husband and I are part of a BNI. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, the BNI
Sure,
Business Networking.
sure.
And we just came across Happy, for example. They're a nonprofit that help young adults on the
Oh,
spectrum get jobs and employment
yeah.
and go to school and all that kind of stuff. So once we were talking with one of the founders there, we were like, oh, okay, so let's incorporate. That's how we started getting the idea. And we started running into a few other people that like had an autistic kid. They
Oh,
were having
yeah,
a hard
sure.
time looking for a job for them. So that's how we kind of got it started.
Nice, nice. All right, it's good. So that's and it's sort of that spark. It's like one idea leads to the next, to the next, the next, and you keep your ears open and brain moving around, and all kinds of ideas kind of come to life
Yeah,
that you never would have expected. So there
right,
you go.
right. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right, right. And you also have a coaching company too.
Yeah, so I just started the coaching company. Before that, I opened up my husband and I opened up two companies for our kids, Nerds Need Love and Smith Kids Merch, and they sell t-shirts and whatnot, miscellaneous merch on the football team.
Oh,
The football team needs love too, a bunch of stuff. But then yeah, now I do the coaching uh, since I'm kind of phasing myself out of the golden goose. I don't have to run so much of the
oh,
operations anymore. I'm able to focus more on passion stuff.
sure.
And I want to give back to the young women and men
Yeah.
that are struggling in their teenage years or just even their adult life from, past childhood traumas and things like that. I want to help them with the tools and stuff that I felt like I needed back then and the support systems that I needed.
So that didn't even exist. I mean, you didn't even know that there was such a thing, let alone
Oh,
looking for that. Right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had no support system
Yeah.
whatsoever. I was my own support system, uh,
Well,
my
I mean,
naive support
well,
system.
whatever. But I mean, it's amazing that you actually, accomplished all that stuff and came through the other side and through your own grit and learning stuff and figuring it all out. Working and succeeding and failing and succeeding and failing, moving forward. You kind of end up where you are. I mean, that's a great lesson for everybody, including and your own kids too, for that matter. So,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah. It's definitely taught me a lot. It's taught me how to be a better parent. Um, I just, at my kid's age now, she's 16 going on 17. I was already on my own making
yeah, yeah, yeah.
adult decisions and all that kind of stuff. So I just looked at her and I'm like, okay, what did I need and what can I provide for her? And even her friends that come over. I just took them all to the opera a couple weeks ago. I
Wow,
stuffed
that's
11
awesome.
kids in a van and my husband and I took them to the opera. Um, and I just love helping kids, and I'm noticing that it's not just kids that are homeless or that have phased out of the foster care system. It's kids that are living in their homes with their both parents that their parents might be working. They're just not getting the resources that they need.
Hmm.
So
Good, good. So at least you're there. I mean, that's great that you've accomplished so much and that you're not just willing, but motivated and, to really help kids move forward too.
well,
So,
they're our future.
yeah, yeah,
So I
exactly.
mean, we
Yeah,
got to take care of them. And I know that the millennials, a lot of the older generation talk about how rude they are and and I just think they're misunderstood.
I think how's it going? Like every generation thinks the next one coming is like a disaster and they're going to ruin the world for everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, right. So as long as we can kind of do that and help everybody out, I think we'll be in a much better place. That's for sure. Too. Um, so yeah, that was pretty awesome. Is there any good fun? That's really a great story. Any other success stories with the soap company or anything like that?
Um, well, I got a lot of success stories. Yeah, the soap company is rocking it. I'm at the point where I'm looking for a manufacturing company to produce the soap
Okay.
because my orders are out of control. Um, yeah, just rocking and rolling, and I'm excited to get into this next phase of life of the mentoring and taking care of these kids and helping
Yeah,
them out and
yeah,
speaking and being on more podcast shows and YouTube
yeah,
shows and things.
sure.
So just getting the word out there and Yeah.
Good, 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 good. Is there anything specific in mind that you have in the future moving forward? Any
That
other
I have.
business, like maybe a sixth business? Like, why not? What are you gonna do?
Well, something I already opened it. It's Smith and Solace Investments. In Colorado, I was inherited a couple about 2,000 acres of cattle ranch property,
Wow, that's a lot.
and I'm trying to turn in. Well, I'm not trying. I am turning the old abandoned buildings into Airbnb. So
Oh,
that's a
very cool.
project that I've started on, but it hasn't really progressed yet. So that's something I'm looking forward to the end of 2024. My first two ready to go. So
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Very good, very good. That's really a kind of a niche. Almost, maybe it's not a niche thing, but places like that, as opposed to just an apartment in the city. If you're doing an Airbnb, it could be literally anything. There's all kinds of things that you see on their website. Places to
oh,
go.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
I have like a big red barn that I'm converting into the Airbnb, so it looks like a loft. And I thought it'd be so
yeah,
cool for like
so much
somebody that
fun.
lives in the city. They look out their window and maybe there's a cow out there eating grass or
Yeah,
something.
that's
I don't know. I think it'd be cool.
I mean, definitely, definitely, and so that's good. I'm sure that'll work out fine, and you'll take over the whole West. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'll see. A tiny town, a smart city, maybe.
Well, whatever. We'll see. We'll see where we end up going. Do you involve yourself in any community activities in Miami?
I do. Part of my mentoring, I'm part of the Women of Tomorrow. Um, I've actually just encountered another young lady that's starting up her own nonprofit to help young children, and she's part of the Elevate Her Women's Network. Um, and with Epic, I'm also involved with
Yeah,
Epic
with
and
with
with
AJ. Yeah,
Unblinded, and
yeah.
I actually am helping a young lady that lives out in Southwest Ranches. She has a nonprofit where she saves animals. She's got a couple donkeys and some
Oh,
goats and stuff. So I'm helping her. My daughter is actually helping her too. She goes and cleans up the stalls every couple days, and I'm trying to help her raise money because she's not raising any money. She's doing it all out of pocket.
oh yeah.
And she's got quite a few animals out there. And growing up on a cattle ranch myself, I know how expensive it can be. So
Sure.
trying to help her raise some money. She's not the type to ask. So I'm trying to help her GoFundMe or Instagram posts or
Stuff like
whatnot.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
try to be involved as much as possible. I work
Oh,
with
that's good.
some of the schools down here. So I try to be everywhere.
And try right. So what we got? I mean, let's keep. I don't want to say keep going. 5 kids, 5 businesses, maybe a sixth one on the other side of the country, right? And
Maybe.
a whole
Yeah.
bunch of community things rolling along, and you have a day off today. How does
Yeah.
that even
Yeah.
happen?
I don't know. It's been a long time. I'll tell you what, having a Friday, a me day, I call it. Um, I don't get them every Friday. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, it's been I don't think it's happened ever until like this last few months. I've really been
Yeah.
able to take my Fridays for myself. So,
Oh, that's great. Well, very good. Very good. So what we'll do is, well, let me ask you this then. So as in the years you've been kind of from I'll say from the ranch where you grew up on to Miami with all the success and all the other stuff that you've had going on, right from one end to the other, you said a lot of stories, a lot of hard struggles, a lot of successes along the way, learning and doing and all that kind of stuff to get where you are today. Do you think there was just a lot of hard work and not giving up kind of, or maybe a little bit of luck? What do you think?
oh, probably all the above. Shoot, I mean, I've gone from addiction. Uh, it's a lot of determination. It's realization of, you want to be better.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe a lot of it too in the back of my mind was kind of like I needed to prove like my parents wrong,
Okay.
type of I needed to be better than them. Um, I can't really say what my drive was, but I've always been very determined to get out of places I shouldn't have been in, realize there was situations I shouldn't have been in and got out of them. Like I always kind of had this sixth sense of when I needed to depart, whatever.
Go to the next step.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
I would say it's luck, determination, and just, believing in yourself, believing that you could be better.
So there's the lesson for everybody and for the kids that you mentor. right?
Yeah, yeah,
You can
because it
always be
doesn't
better
matter.
than you are now. Yeah.
Yeah, because it
Yes.
doesn't matter where you're coming from, what situation you're in. You can do better. You deserve better, and you only got one life to live, so
That's right.
should
You're
live it.
not getting out of this life alive, so you may as well have a good time doing it.
Exactly.
Well, everybody, this was a great conversation with Chanell. And if you know anyone who is as determined and driven and successful as Chanell, pass them our way and we'll get them on the show. So just remember that whether it's your community organization, your family, your business, anything that's going on in your life, it's money that make those gears keep turning. Make sure your money is working the most effective way possible. Thanks, Chanell, for
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it so much. Thank you.
great.